Your potential participants, contestants, experts. We are very happy to be welcoming you to the second webinar for the Open International Competition to develop a master plan for the Research and Technology District of the Sirius Federal Territory. This webinar would allow you to learn more about the competition and help us to respond to your questions. I would now go with the agenda announcement. My name is Sergey Georgievsky. I'm representing Center Strategic Development Agency, the operator of the competition. I will be moderating today's session as well as a Q&A at the end post-presentation. Now about the agenda. Leading experts, representatives of Sirius territory would make presentations. The operator would provide some additional information, and after that, you'll be able to raise your questions, be it throughout in the chat of the broadcast as well as verbally. Please pay attention that the presentation is provided in 2 languages. We will start with Mr. Alexey Basharin. This is the head of Talent and Success Educational Foundation. And then we would move to Roman Ivanov, the chairman of the Sirius University Academic Council, director of the Scientific Center for Translational Medicine. He will be talking about the priority, development, dimensions of Sirius University. Then we will be having Sergey Taran, chief expert at the International Research Center for Ecology and Climate Change from the Sirius University of Science and Technology, and we will be speaking about the role and the place of environmental agenda for the development strategy of Sirius Federal University. Then would go Madam Irina Levina, Chief Project Analyst, representatives of the competition operator. She will be speaking about socioeconomic development of the Sirius Federal Territory and the competitive plots. And then, with your permission, I will be speaking on details of the competition, the goals and objectives, as well as the procedure for its implementation. And then we would move on to the Q&A. And before we would now start with the presentation, let me remind all those just connecting, please choose the interpretation function. It's done through the lower bar on the lower part of the screen. Please also confirm that you have heard me and our interpreters as well, that you are seeing bilingual presentation, that all the systems are working well. Please plus us if everything is comfortable for the event. The presentation is on the screen. Otherwise, minus us. Show us minus us if you do have challenges with either sound or visuals. If you hear us well and you are seeing the agenda of please, if you didn't yet, please plus us in the broadcast chat, that we are confident that everyone hears and sees everything. For example, if you hear me, but you do not see the agenda on the screen, we need to make sure that it's all corrected. I see the growing number of pluses, which means that all of these systems are working as they should. Let me thus be passing the floor to Mr. Alexey Basharin, assistant to the head of the Talent and Success Educational Foundation, to speak about the specifics of this unique territory. Alexey, the floor is yours. Yes, Sergey, thank you very much, dear colleagues. Good afternoon. I will be brief. I'm a lawyer. I'll be speaking about the legal specifics of the territory. We would not be able to return in 2007, but we would try to go back to 2014 and 2015. In 2014, Olympic Games were hosted in the Russian territory at large scale. Olympic infrastructure was developed. And just like everywhere else around the world, there is a question, what do you do with that Olympic villages and the infrastructure? In our country, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, decided unprecedented manner to pass this as social investment, to pass this for the use of children. Sirius Educational Center was established in 2015. The Talent and Success Foundation is responsible for the territory to support the talented children and all those that are demonstrating their abilities and skills. The foundation is using this infrastructure effectively, and in 2019, a new challenge we were faced with a developing university in the territory. Well, you need to provide full cycle scientific infrastructure. So in the place where that of this educational center, innovative SciTech Center, ISTC, is being regulated by Federal Law 216. Many might be thinking that ISTC is associated very similar to Skolkovo, but that's not. But that's a little different. Federal Law 216 has established this. Well, 2020 was an important year in our country. Constitutional reform. Constitution was being amended. Russian voting, and one of the proposals by the president was new status, the federal territories, that is Article 167 of respective law, that is regulating how to live in and how to regulate. And first such a territory is Sirius on the 22nd December 2020. 437 federal law was adopted in Russia, that is defining the principles of regulating the Sirius federal territory. That's the first and the only so far federal territory that we are dealing with. Despite the fact that Sirius is within Krasnodar region, it is not a municipality of Krasnodar region. It's a unique entity. It's different from the regional subject of federation and different from a municipality. It has its own authorities, its own power systems. Article 2 of Federal Law 437 is defining what it is. It's a public entity that has a federal level strategic importance. That territory is created for whole of the country, as well as the objectives why it's being created to preserve Olympic, natural, cultural heritage, supporting talented children, increasing investment in of the territory, as well as, of course, implementation of the various priority programs. Assuring scientific and technological development of our country and the territory. We are having a council of the federal territory. Let's say it's a parliament, a unique structure. 9 members are elected by all those there, then 3 named by the president, 3 by the government of the Russian Federation, 1 named by the regional governor. The council is then defining the executive body, which is responsible for the livelihood of the territory. Let me remind that Sirius is not a municipality. Article 3 of Federal Law 437 is speaking about the authority of the federal territory. It is authorized to be playing the role of a municipality, of the regional government, and even some federal authority on approvals with the President of the Russian Federation. In that sense, Sirius is a first territory in Russia where the unity of the 3 levels of public authorities, municipal, regional, and federal, are organically merging and working as one for the benefit of citizens. What else shall I say? Economic foundations of the bodies of authority of the federal territory is based on the independent budget. So on top of the municipal, regional, federal budget, we are having a new level, the Sirius federal territory budget. A budget code is regulating how this is being replenished. It's in the proficit, and To assure the implementation, a concept of the special legal regime, we can call it as an experimental regime, but not exactly experimental legal regime, something that is developing and being approved by federal law, approved by the federal executive bodies, whilst here, serious federal territory bodies of authorities are having the authority to define rules that can be different from the overall Russian rules. So in a sense that the legal article is 46.1, the federal law on Sirius, and part 27 of 26 and 27 as articles of the very same federal law 437. Let me just give number of the authority that this body has. We are having such a legal category called the objects of serious federal territory. These are elements that must be there to assure that serious federal territory is achieving the objectives it is charged with. In line with its importance and support, they are at the same level as federal objects. Speaking about land use and various land plotting and master plan, etc. regulation, let me say that at the moment we do not have neither general plan or any other similar documentation. We are using Sochi general plan regulation by the decision of the federal territory entity. At the same time, simply because it's more convenient for us now, in that sense, we are able to be defining the parameters of our land use, boundaries, etc., as by the local governing body. At the same time, we are not being limited by the Olympic Village regulations. Through the documentation, we can do everything and even more. But let me remind that mandatory recommendations such as sanitary, protective, ecological norms, something that we should be following strictly. Of course, in the Federal Law 437, it gives us various stages where we can be making special amendments and special structures, and in that sense, Sirius is demands that the architectural appearance is a very important element. It is being defined in Federal Law 437 plus, of course, in the statute of the series itself. At the same time, we are not having the design regulations, but we are paying attention that all the social transport and engineering infrastructure supporting whatever you would be designing should be there. And the statute also demands that we should be looking for the balance on the various buildings and infrastructural elements. I would like to be finishing thus my speech. Thank you very much for participation. I am inviting everybody to take a look at 46.1, 26.27 articles of the Federal Law 437. We are ready to respond to more questions.
Thank you very much, Alexey Vladimirovich. And now I would like to give the floor to Roman Ivanov, Chairman of the Sirius University Academic Council, Director of the Scientific Center for Translational Medicine. Good afternoon, colleagues. I would like to say a few words about the university to show that the Sirius Federal Territory is quite unique in the context that the university, it is basically city founding enterprise. That's the territory of the science and education, and Sirius University is occupying the core part in this ecosystem. Shortly, I would like to say a few words about different directions and areas that were chosen as a strategic, so that we prioritize at the university. And they predetermine the areas of the scientific and technological development of the ISTC series and the overall development of the Sirius territory. Back in 2019, when the president of Russia made a decision to create this university, we identified a number of the strategic areas of its development. And first one is genetics and life sciences. And that Center for Genetics and Life Sciences is the biggest one so far and the most equipped with the technologies personnel division of the university. It goes for both fundamental and basic and applied research using the genetic technologies in agriculture, getting new types of agricultural plants and development of different technologies and products with a potential usage in the medical sphere and the healthcare sphere. These research and development in the biology of sports of high achievement and many others. Now, the Center of Genetics and Life Sciences employs the whole set of outstanding experts and scientists and scholars. So inedible. And those working in Sirius.
Creating various products. In our Center of Translation Medicine, we are developing high-tech medicines such as gene therapy, mRNA vaccines, very small molecule substances, the products that should be going into the use of our doctors in 5 to 6 years to come and change the approaches to treatment of many untreatable yet diseases.
Like cancer, some hereditary diseases, and many others. Next slide, please. Another scientific center that we pay a lot of effort is the Center for Information Technology and AI. This center uses methods of applied mathematics for addressing some practical tasks in the sphere of robotics. We have a very strong school on and using the algorithms for management of the very complex robotics, development of the autonomous industrial sites, and among the partners, the Rosatom companies. And besides the IT and AI Center, we also have the IT college that trains specialists in the sphere of the IT technology as part of the comprehensive school, secondary school, vocational school, training specialists that very much demanded for the high-tech industry. The next slide, please. Also, according to the instruction of the president, we established the Scientific Center for Cognitive Research that is in the sphere of psychology and proved pedagogics that actually systematize best practices on working with the talented children in a Sirius territory to develop new approaches to education, development, and training gifted children with the specific needs of the mental development specificity. So to make these best practices of Sirius available to the whole educational system of Russia. And the youngest division established in 1.5 years ago, the Scientific Center for Environmental and Climate Change Research. This scientific center is engaged in research of modeling climatic processes in the sphere of biodiversity, preserving biodiversity, and this center is involved in some applied research related to treatment of our beaches in the Krasnodarsky region, dealing with this environmental discrepancy and adversity that resulted from this spill of the bitumen happened in the Black Sea. It's one of the most significant projects so far. So these 5 scientific centers define the strategy for the development of the federal territory, and they create this scientific foundation on basis of which the ISTC series will further see the emergence of new companies, production sites, products and technologies that will predetermine of the federal territory and actually the future of the whole country. Thank you very much. That's it. Yes, and I would like to also add on top of that about the educational programs. University is not only about research, but education is the first and foremost. Educational programs, and we have more than thousands of students of different level of the postdocs, postgraduates programs, and this year we launched the program of the specialty 5-year training and the vocational training programs. So Sirius and the Federal Territory Sirius is the place that hosts a lot of talented people from Russia-wide, from leading universities of Russia, both students and tutors and teachers from high-tech companies as well, creating a unique environment, unique ecosystem where talented young people meet the experience and create new products. And the infrastructure of the university was developed to make these talents, to provide opportunity for these young talents to work in the latest and state-of-the-art technologies and laboratories. We have the laboratory complex, one of a kind, in studies for life sciences, which has about 100 laboratories, provide the most advanced and disruptive technologies and labs for development of the products on the biomedical sphere and agricultural sphere. This complex is developing further, and we can see that the whole ecosystem of Sirius is the huge lab in the open air intended for testing, piloting, and further scaling up the processes and products developed by residents of the Sirius territory and all the stakeholders involved. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor back to Sergey, Chief Expert of the International Research Center for Ecology Climate Change, Sirius University Science and Technology. Thank you very much, Roman and Sergey, dear participants. It's my great privilege to welcome you and to introduce the ecological aspects and principles of sustainable development of Sirius. That is the major topic of all the projects here. But before I move on to that part, I would like to focus your attention on the natural specificity of the region that will affect drastically on designing on these infrastructural sites and on overall planning and urban solutions in this innovative territory for green infrastructure as well. Sirius in the subtropical region, in these wet subtropics. It's a unique place in the country with a specific combination of different temperature modes, extended vegetation season, specificity of flora, fauna, and soil. Our region has a lot of complexes of complex vertical zoning. The federal territory is Sirius is surrounded by natural complexes of Caucasus Reserve, Sochi Reserve. Within the federal territory, we have the specially protected environmental areas of the regional significance. In such a combination, any kinds of plants can grow there. It simplifies the task for designers to make a nice project, but on the other hand, there are certain restrictions and impediments that you have to take into account. Besides that, our region has this torrential rains regime or mode when it's sometimes most unwelcomed. We have the biggest precipitation level. So adaptation to climatic changes, preserving biodiversity, as Roman said, it's one of the priorities. What is done in Sirius from the environmental point of view and point of view of ecology. When we speak about educational environment development, creation of new innovative environment, creating harmonious conditions, we imply that such conditions are created in a good balance with the natural components, with a minimum influence and impact on natural. One of the approaches that we're trying to broadcast and creating the city and the park when architectural sites are integrated to the ecosystem available here. And it hasn't been said yet, but Sirius is developing the concept of the first national water climatic park in the country, where every square meter of the park has integrated architecture, all 114 square kilometers. It will be a huge park with integrated architectural elements. So this newly established innovative region, so district, should be the integral, a seamless part of this national park. And they should have enough green elements, urban improvements. They should generate microclimatic effect. for nature future zones, connecting it with a climate regulating space. The date hasn't been set yet, but we're putting in operation the first stage of the campuses for students. And we started the design, not the construction, obviously. And when we were involved in the design, the overall percent of green of the campus was about 30%. And the final stage, thanks to the very knowledgeable and very good work in using all surfaces, we managed to increase of green solutions up to 60%. So that's not only lawns, it's all thanks to trees and some other green solutions. Another priority is sustaining biodiversity. It's a buzzword in Sirius, and it's true. It is mentioned in all scientific projects of our center, in other centers, and other projects. So creation of new zones of in the innovative districts, we consider not only as an adjacent accompanying element of the architecture, but as a way to create architectural system to preserve some unique species, which allows to preserve them and to study and develop technologies for further dissemination, increasing that number, to further promote them. As part of the goal setting and the contest itself, it's all about the usage of the energy efficient materials and technologies for development of infrastructural sites, using the most advanced approaches, ensuring adaptability, sustainability to climatic conditions that we actually experiencing and witnessing. As I said, for wet subtropics area, we have a lot of precipitation. So one of a single of cases. So it's very important. The projects, they have to explain the reasons for management, such scenarios for collecting rainwater, treating it and using for the rainforests or rain gardens, and creating this systems for managing the water resources, but also scientific research and mechanisms how we can integrate it all together. While developing the green spaces, we believe it's very important to prioritize the endemics, species that are specific to local region. We have a very big and rich flora, and it satisfies the needs in terms of diameter, the canopy, and period of flowering. We just collect everything here. And while implementing of these proposals, we'll be happy to have some relevant solutions, national and foreign one, in terms of the infrastructure management, which allows not only to get some box solution, but also going for some different studies, research for our center and for some other residents of ISTC. And maybe that's the reason for having this contest, this competition. Thank you very much. That's it. I'll be happy to answer the questions. Thank you very much for your speech. And I'm going to have to give the floor to Irina Levina, Chief Project Analyst, a representative of the competition operator. Thank you very much, Sergey. Good afternoon, colleagues and participants. I would like to say a few words about Sirius characteristics, so to make it understandable what these people do. I'll start with the socio-economic and socio-demographic specificity. It's a young city, Sirius, and CTI we get it, it's just federal territory. It's quite unique essence and substance. In order to simplify it, I will call it city. In order to consider the demographic pyramid, which we defined following the people that officially registered on the Sirius territory and live permanently there, we can see that a lot of people aged 30 to 45, quite young, active people with their families, their children, moved from other regions of Russia or even from foreign countries to that location. So that's the company employees of different residents of this ISTC Sirius University, and the young people who are going for study, research, innovations, and to most effectively tap their potential, they come to this federal territory of Sirius. So most of them have the higher education or get it, but I would like to note that on the territory of Sirius, we constantly have the teenagers and quite young, very young people that are training at the university and the educational center of Sirius, and so life is bustling and it's thriving, actually. It's a very young population. A few words about socioeconomic development. One of the biggest ideas laid here, it is that place of innovations and science development. So we should mention here innovative science and technology center of Sirius ISTC. Nowadays we have 96 resident companies. and they employ more than 4,000 people altogether. That's primarily companies involved in the IT and AI solutions. 25 companies that they develop genetics and life sciences, and 7 companies go for interdisciplinary research. So correspondingly, Sirius attracts investment and develop technologies for most demanded industries that are integral part of the most prioritized areas of university development. A few words about first and second competitive plot. So Sirius has 3 techno regions or districts that develop the potential of the territory, and 2 of them are part of this competition. So the first plot is localized in the second technological district. It's 19.4 hectares. And there will be 2 basic centers, medical cluster and infrastructure for innovative and technology center, ISTC. So medical cluster implies placing medical clinical center with a focus on provision of cancer treatment and infrastructure for residence for employees and potential clients. So the hotel and some social and household facilities. The second competitive plot of that competition is bigger, 23.1 hectares. It is localized in the technology district number 3, and they should be the second stage of the Sirius University campus that my colleagues mentioned already. It should occupy up to 25% of the total area of this competitive plot and intended for 2,600 people. Infrastructure for ISTC is represented in a more diverse way. And the second plot, you should plan, besides the place for residents and the accompanying infrastructure, office, so research park for technology investigations. This competitive plot should create jobs and so diversify the functionality of the Sirius residents. And here I would like to give the floor back to Sergey. Okay, now let's move on to the organizational part, because the competition is not only about the content that we should be quite aware of, what that territory represents, what are the nuances and at what point it is, but also many other procedural moments that our potential participants, our contestants, should be well aware of, and that should help each and every of you to participate actively and equally.
Well, to begin with, it's an open type competition, and the choice of the best master plan for 2 SciTech districts is the main objective we are looking at. So all the procedures are meant to choose the optimal solution, as well as the team that can make that happen. The objectives are identification of conceptual scenarios, functional use, development of economically justified urban development solutions that are to assure the high quality of life and incentivize scientific activities. You have heard of in the previous presentation, of course, architectural appearance and landscape architecture organization of the plots. That is being defined by the idea of the place, the city park, post-Olympic heritage, as well as high level of architecture that is being set in a way by some other objects that are already shaping the current outlook of the series. Participants to this competition could be Russian international companies that are taking part in the are playing at the complex development of territories. It's very important that your team have economics, content programming, and finance. Of course, it's important that we are not just be dreaming about the topic of imagining some image of the future, but to be able to justify, etc. Competition is meant to make all those solutions happen, which means that everything that will be developed would have to be justified, proved at the final jury hearing. This is two-stage competition. We are in the first stage, which is acceptance of applications, upon the end of which we'll be selecting 3 finalists that will be going into stage 2. These could be individual or consortiums companies. Stage 2, that will be dedicated to the development of solutions, and then the selection of the best company, best contestant. The prize pool altogether amounts to 23 million rubles. First part will be paid at the very beginning, 4 million rubles each of the 3 competitors, whilst the second payment would depend on the place you are taking as at the end of the final jury. That will amount to 5 million for first, 3 for second, and 2 million for third place. Very much dependent on the outcome of your in-person presentation to the jury. Competition roadmap here. Key events that would allow you to plan your future work should you be going into the second stage, to identify what and by what deadlines you would have to be completing. The first seminar, orientation seminar for finalists is planning to have up to a week at the Sirius federal territory, where you would be able to look at key events, to meet all the important participants and hear the strategic vision of the head of the council, Madam Elena Shmilova. Unique opportunity, and that is being covered separately. It is not being covered by your prize pool. The competition operator would finance your participation of this in-person seminar with the visit, be it of Russian as well as international, should that be part of your team, should you be in consortium. During the second stage, you'll be having consultations as well as various intermediate presentations and meetings confidentially. Plus, you'll be having expert counsel to the jury. It's a double check. Of course, operator, we are doing our own job. An expert counsel that has specialists in all of the aspects of this territorial work would be able to give comments, assessments, while the jury members of a similar expertise will be looking at the final presentations of yours, as well as the voting that will be very much defining the outcome of the competition. Please pay attention to the dates. Once again, interaction, visits, interaction with various participants. You would be able to present during the orientation seminar your expertise. You'll be able to share expertise as well. You'll be able to be showcasing your today's competencies and opportunities at one of the largest educational and scientific centers of our country. Now, for you to be able to track everything that is taking place throughout the contest, we are having bilingual competition website. You can quickly access it through QR code on the lower left corner. That will take you to the mobile version of the website. You will be able to get to the totality of information. The first thing we would recommend you to access will be invitation to participation. That booklet contains key information about Sirius federal territory, its purposes, objectives, etc. In Russian version, you will have much more information than even in this presentation. It would respond to all of the questions of yours. Other documents you'll find there would include, among others, conditions for the competition. Feel free to download, and also please register, because once you register, it's a working channel interaction environment, a personalized and secure interaction environment, where you would be able to upload or download all the additional materials that's accessible to you once you have registered. Plus, throughout the registration, if you feel that you need to identify either a local Russian partner or an international one, and we as an operator would provide you with that, because many participants are ready for that. And if you would let us know, we would automatically let you meet each other, so that you'll be able to come together and work in the consortium. Plus, of course, you are seeing that we are having competition email, info@siriusmasterplan.com. Just like with the telephone number, feel free to contact us in either Russian or English. We'll be able to provide you with additional information, find partners should you need them, provide necessary additional data should you have some technical challenges. Feel free to reach us their website through the email, as well as phone number +7 for Russia, 495 Moscow, 1234553. Bilingual. At the call, you'll be able to choose the language, Russian or English, and we'll be able to provide you all the possible support. Please feel free. This email, website, and telephone hotline in between our online interaction. That will be helpful to you to prepare your portfolio in the very best possible way, so that jury members that would be able to identify you in the very best possible way, so that you'll be able to come to stage 2, the final stage of the competition. Now passing the floor to Irina Levina, Chief Project Analyst, for her to give us additional elements, key principles, and requirements, which are reflected in, of course, the booklet. But let's go to the competition terms of reference to stage competition. Let me speak about what we are expecting to be part of the application and how to assess this. There are 3 components that are to be assessed: essay, sketches, and portfolio. An essay is to be describing key ideas and approaches to the master plan development. We'll be looking at the originality and the subject matter of the ideas, the degree of their realisticity, feasibility, etc., how that meets the topic of the contest, the territory, etc. As for sketches, these should be reflecting the solutions that you are describing in your essay. First of all, we are looking at the text that you're providing with the visuals, as well as the quality of the sketches. Plus, of course, portfolio. Portfolio is some 5 relevant projects of the applicant from different teams. No less than 1 project should be presented on behalf of the consortium leader. This could be urban planning, architecture, such as economic development projects. We are looking at how relevant these examples to the task, as well as the degree of the implementation of the project. 3 finalists that are going to get the maximum points will, at stage 2, will be developing the competition proposals. We have identified 7 principles. First is creating an environment that is conducive to breakthroughs in scientific and technological advancement in Sirius. Second, the creation of a unique environment supporting the goals of the federal territory. Number 3, formation of an urban environment for residents of the federal territory that will be responding to their needs, daily scenarios in their lives. important to look at the portrait of the residents when you're looking at this. Number 4 is the consistency of architecture images with the established image of Sirius. Number 5, consideration of sustainable development principles and green standards when you're developing your proposals. Number 6, ensuring transport connectivity within Sirius as well as for Sirius with the surrounding residential locations. And of course, phased implementation, first and second phase. Let's go into competition of competition proposals. Number 1, album. 2, visualizations. Number 3, presentation boards. Number 4, presentation. 5, videos. 6, 3D model of the territory, as well as number 7, additional materials you'll decide should be part of that. Now, as for the contents, of course, comprehensive assessment of conditions for the development of competitive plots, scenarios are spatial organization and functional use of the competitive plots. Various urban planning solutions that would be ensuring implementation of scenarios for functional use and spatial organization of the competitive plots. Solutions for creating architectural development and landscape architecture organization competitive plots, as well as framework financial economic justification of competition proposal. Looking at the evaluation criteria, we have developed them together with the colleagues from Sirius. And even at the preparation stage for your application, please look at these criteria. These will help you to avoid missing any of the meanings that Sirius is standing for, so that it's reflected in your proposals. 8 criteria: compliance with competition documentation 1, of course, requirements of terms of reference, strategic documents of economic development, as well as urban development of the Sirius federal territory. Criteria number 2, complete consideration of urban planning context, including existing development restrictions. Number 3, comprehensiveness of architectural planning and urban development solutions. Number 4, optimality and sufficiency of detail of architectural planning and urban development solutions. Then respective solutions should be in line with global trends and modern standards of comprehensive sustainable development. Originality of the architectural concept, consistency with the existing architectural concept, as well as assurance of economic and social effectiveness with implementation of competitive solutions. That will be it on my part, dear colleagues. You could be going into more details, of course, in the documents, the booklets that my colleague has spoken about, and I'm passing the floor back to Sergey. Let's go to Q&A, and I see that many participants are now posing them in writing. Please remember that you can be placing them in the broadcast chat, and I would be localizing them and be responding. And should you want to make that question vocally, use the raise your hand icon. The instruction is also provided in the chat of the broadcast, and we'll be happy to give you the floor. Should you use the vocal question option, we would request you to have your video on. My colleagues are recommending me to start with questions that have already been posed in the chat throughout the presentation. First question is from Palina. Was there any engagement done of the residents that are residing around these plots? And if possible, can we access that? Are we counting for the opinion of the residents? Would any of the experts we are having with comment? Maybe I should start, and then colleagues from federal territory would respond. At this stage, we did not engage residents, but the finalists of the competition stage 2 participants will be able to meet and interact with them. This will be very much welcome, because SciTech people are residing in Sirius, so it'd be great to interact with them, learn their opinions. Sociologists in your team could also interact throughout during your visit and account for their opinions. And also, please, be it in online, be interaction, be it during your in-person visit for the local orientation, you'll be able to interact that with all the participants. We did not make that engagement element the preparation too, but that will be a competitive advantage, of course, if you do that. Second question is also from Paulina. Essay and 5 images, is that only about visualization, or can we include maps, schemes, axonometry, and graphs, etc.? Thank you very much, Paulina. I will be responding. Under the essay, we mean a description, sketch images that will be describing the idea you have provided us in a textual format. On top of the everything that you can, of course, add everything that is described plus additional materials that you feel are important. Next question is from Stanislav. Are the sources of funding for the development of the plot and the architecture to be erected later, or should participants be thinking about attracting investment? Okay, we probably need to have your comment here about the way this would be funded, because it's unlikely that the participants will be able to provide alternative solutions. Yes, colleague, good afternoon. Sources of funding for the design and construction are not yet clearly identified. But I believe that throughout this process,
a number of the millions and billions of dollars according to the grant shop or the money of the investor. Any source of the funding available in the Russian Federation can be taken advantage of. PPP or protection of the capital investment and everything. And we understand that the project implies investment part, and the thing related to that we have to include in the state programs of the federal territory and to fully fund it thanks to the budget, it's not considered at all. Anyway, when we going to implement it, they will be looking for investors and we classical project and banking investment actually. Next question from Natalia. Detailization of the project and feasibility study. At which point should be there? Alex, I would like to answer this shortly. Such detailed description and feasibility study is provided at the second stage when you apply the application. Initially, it is not implied. If you qualify to the final and you started to develop, to design it, and then as part of the task, then you go for these details as for the economic parameters. The next question, where can we search for and watch the presentation recording? All the recordings are published on the official website of the competition, Sirius, masterplan.com. All the materials that we discuss, provide, and share are published on this website. It's an open competition, so you have such an opportunity. Dear contestants, you can place your questions in the chat of the translation of the podcast, or just use the special icon, raise a hand, and I'll give you the floor. We will open your mic and you can ask the questions to the experts or orally. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and ask them orally, and we're happy to answer any aspects related to the contest or territory for your comfortable participation. Was it very overwhelming presentation covering all the aspects and you have no questions at all? So you have such an opportunity. If you don't want to write, you can right away ask your questions just using the mic, or you turn on your camera. Speaking to our colleagues, you can speak English. You'll be translated into Russian by our interpreters that actually accompanying and working in this webinar. They will translate the answer to you. So please make sure take this opportunity. You can ask the question. You can either type it in the chat or ask it orally in this webinar. We'll be happy to comment on anything that is important to you, to clarify any aspects related to this competition, anything related to the territory, to your application submission, concerning the materials that are provided and will be provided, any technical issues. Yeah, there is a question from a colleague. Essay, portfolio, images, additional materials. Should represent one album on some separately uploaded sections. And here I would ask my colleagues here to comment on that, this digital form on the website that implies, in terms of the structure, different sections in the application form. Tiana, please, Nikolai. So I'll be the one to take the floor. Yeah, you can provide one album as one set, or you can upload separate files. Actually, all the materials are provided in the PDF format or JPG format when downloading and using in the catalogs of the applications as well, and discussing, analyzing, not to have any discrepancies, variations, violations, because the font might be misrepresented and there might be some hiccups in presentation of the materials. Colleagues, I would like to pay one more point. So infrastructure of the competition is digital. So you submit it through your personal account, the personal page, and I see there is another question related to the prize pool, who will give these 22 million rubles. In that case, the initiator of this competition, or founder, is the federal territory itself. And the funding is provided by this territory, and all the expenses at your stay and the prize pool, the prize money, also funded by the territory. So essays are submitted on a specific template, or there is no restrictions. So you provide it in the digital format. You don't use any type of template. So please, we kindly request to register on the official website of the competition, because after your registration, in the upper right corner, you will see such an option, and our colleagues will ask to move on to the next slide. So everyone can choose either QR code or the website hyperlink in order to go to, in the end of our presentation, we'll have this slide, the last slide of our presentation. So you can use and get all the information, and after the registration, you'll see all the needed templates. It is filled in a special window, so you don't need any additional or special procedure. Colleagues, I would like to add something here as for the filling in the application for participation in the competition. So it is written and have very clear wording. Every field, description of every line, there is certain restriction or limitation on the file size that should be uploaded to all the fields. On a kind request to register on our website and open the registration form, and you'll find all the answers to all possible questions that you might still have as for the procedure of the registration. Let's see if there are any more questions. And Artyom is asking, will there be the pictures of the vicinity and of the whole region? And the first webinar, we asked to send the emails, but we were told to send emails, but actually didn't work so far. So Irina, will you please comment on that? Thank you very much for the question. That's true. Unfortunately, in our leaflet, we don't have the invitation for participation. The pictures of the site of these districts, it is implied in the materials for those participants that would qualify to the final stage. So it's not about the requests or any digital format. It's all about the materials that will be provided only to the finalists at the second stage. If you qualify to the final, in the second stage, then you will get additional materials that would feature the pictures and photo materials of the site. And while registering, do we need to define the lineup of the team? Definitely yes, because we assess who is submitting the application. And that's why you have to define the members of your team and to submit an application. You have enough time because we receive these applications till the end of May. So take advantage of this opportunity to make a team or consortium and send the digital form who is in your team, who is in work. So please register in advance, because as soon as you register, you have the structure of your personal account and the format of your personal application, and intuitively it will tell you, it will give you all the necessary information, what is needed to participate in it. The next question, as for the competition application, item 6, there is a 3D model of the territory. So it means the physical or digital twin or digital model. I can answer right away. Of course, it's digital format. The physical model, you don't need to make it actually. We speak only about the digital format. The question from Alexander. Last webinar, it was not very clear as for the requirements to portfolio, as for combination of 3 types of projects, if they're compliant or not. Should be the project in 3 or 1 project of one of the 3 types mentioned. Let's go back to the requirements to the portfolio, and Irina will please really comment on that. What are the requirements to the portfolio, settings, and layout? Thank you very much. It's very important that 3 out of 5 projects cover any of these fields. It is competitive advantage in that case. The diversity of the submitted portfolio, there could be the projects of all consortium members, and they should correspond, they should meet the requirements of all 3 items. Next question from Natalia. Can we further expand the lineup or the list of the consortium team members after registration? The leader of the consortium should be the same. You should define who is the leader of your team, but you can additionally include expertise or additional company. Yeah, you definitely can do that. That's your right. Your position should be worsen, weaken, or strengthen your position in the contest. We are interested in the best way of representing you and your expertise. If you understand at the second stage that you need to include somebody else, yes, you can do that. The next question that we got, are there any materials on city design or planning of the series, including materials on transport, roads, functioning, etc. planning, as well as the 3D model of the site? Irina, will you please comment on that? From the federal territory series can add on top of that. Yes, we have the materials. They also provided to the finalists of the competition. As far as I know, there is no such as for the 3D model, but colleagues can correct me if I'm wrong. Currently, we don't have the 3D model, and all the rest, all the other information besides the English leaflet of the invitation to participation that is available in the English version of the website will be provided in the second stage of the competition. Answering a question from Young, we have this material, but they will be provided to those who qualify to the final stage after the first stage. Question from Polina, can foreign company be a leader of consortium? No, In that case, take into account the specificity of the Russian legislation and regulatory framework. We ask, or I would say insist, on a Russian company being the leader or resident of Russian company. It doesn't restrict our foreign partners, the foreign participants, because you identify roles in the team in your application, identifying who is the intellectual leader of your consortium and your proposal. If some of you need a Russian partner or foreign partner, the operator on your request will be happy to connect you to the needed partner, so you can quickly and rapidly develop and establish a consortium team. Next question from Natalia. How can we provide the sketches or preliminary design at the initial stage if you don't have the plan and photo materials? Yes, I'll take the floor if you allow me. You can use these land flocks that are indicated in the invitation for participation. You can find the specific territory and check out the pictures, satellite images, and all the available tools. They are quite overwhelming in order to get the for the preliminary design, but for the detailed description, we provided photo materials and some plans and topographic information for detailed planning. So it makes sense to specify. We're not expecting you this basically the preliminary design according to the GOST or state standards. It's all about the sketch, really, the sketch that you would provide some visual image, your consideration, your vision, what style, what approach, and in which exactly way you will move and further develop at the second stage if you are selected. Here, we speak about visualization of your essay, but in the second stage, when you will qualify for the next stage, you'll get all the needed material, photo materials, and all the rest, and develop the full-fledged design, and not only the visual image as a supplement to your vision. You can ask questions in the chat or use the icon, raise hand icon, so we can see your intention to ask the question. Question from Andrei. Do you have any restrictions on using artificial intelligence, AI, at the initial stage? So I would like to clarify this question. What do you mean using AI? Because the technology itself as a tool is not restricted at all. If you use as a tool in your work, why not? But your works will be assessed without taking into account if you used the AI tool or not. Because AI is quite often give us not very precise results and accurate. If you provide some visual image using AI and then you cannot implement it in the second stage because it's not feasible at all, it will be a deadlock and dead end and some kind of impediment while implementation of different tasks as part of the technical task. According to the template in the website, you have only 10 lines. Is it some restricted requirement? Alexander, frankly speaking, in the competition, it's very hard to imagine to have more than 10 organizations or stakeholders within the consortium. We would ask you not to go beyond that number. You can send an email of the organizers and pay attention to extending or increasing the number of the lines in the application form, but usually consortium lineup usually covers the list of 10 companies. So it's very important for that this company would be manageable and efficient, and it cannot be and it cannot have endless list of legal entities that are part of this application. Once again, we're not setting such restriction that consortium has this fixed or some restricted number of the experts. If you want more participants, then you can write an email to us and we'll give you that option. Should that leader be a legal entity with a permission on design? Natalia, according to our competition rules, only legal entities can participate. That could be any forms of legal entities, starting with a LLC, ending up with an individual entrepreneur. So individuals cannot participate in it only as part of the team, and the legal entity is representing them in that case. And we sign an agreement with the legal entity. So that means that you attract some valuable experts, but they are not independent subjects of this procedure. They are part of the big team, and team is a legal entity. Permission for design. Is it a compulsory thing to do? Do we have such a requirement in well, we'll probably need some colleagues to comment on that. Maybe Nikolai can answer that. Let's make a reference to the terms of the competition. The permission on the design is not required. You might have the membership in a CIRO or some permission, but they are not relevant at the initial stage. And the second stage as well, it's hardly possible that will be defining or decisive because we're at the conceptual stage, but at the stage of preparation of the project or working documentation. Do we need a detalization that, for the clinical facility with description of the medical technologies, logistics by floors? That's a question from Stanislav. At the first stage, no, but the second stage, the answer is yes. It will be defined by the technical task that is reported documentation. You're not working with some abstract idea, but representatives of this medical facility, medical cluster, they have their own task and some requirements, detalization, and the content for medical aspects of the project. So you'll be working not from the scratch, not in isolation, but based on the work that has been done previously, based on the proposals and preliminary analytics that was prepared on the behalf of the federal territory. Are there any more questions, colleagues? Please. Please, you can use the translation or broadcast chat, or you can turn on your mic, raise the hand, and we'll be happy to answer them. I can see that there are no questions in the chat, neither in chat nor raised hands icon. So in that case, we'll have a small question. Would you like to meet representatives of the federal territory Sirius or operator, experts of this competition personally? As part of this preliminary stage, before you submit your final application. On your screen, you have the survey. It is bilingual. It has Russian and English languages, and you can answer either yes with the initiator and operator of the competition at this stage. You can choose of the so yes, yes, very much. If you indeed want to meet us, specifically motivated, no. If you don't want to, or you can use only video conferencing method if you can participate only online. In offline is not an option for you at this stage of your potential participation. And on no further consultancies and advisory, if this information available on the website is excessively and overwhelmingly answered your questions, choose the option that meet your expectations. You have this. You should click yes and click the button yes, and then we'll be able to treat it easily. Please choose one of the 5 options of the answers on the screen so you can see your get some feedback and make a decision if we need any additional offline meeting during which we can meet and somehow widely in a live format cover the mission and the task of the competition.
Provide all the necessary data, develop a uniform vision, or test the application filing. You are seeing the survey on the screen. Please just mark whatever you choose, but remember to press send button lower right corner so that we see the result of the survey. Let's give us some time for us to start seeing the statistics. Choose an option, press the send lower right corner, and we will see the overall figures afterwards. Once again, dear colleagues, please choose an option that's an e-survey. You mark whatever answer that is right for you. If you would like to have an in-person meeting with an operator and the initiator in Moscow at this stage before you file your first stage application, and use this opportunity, please mark whatever you feel is right for you, and then send us these results, lower right corner, send button. That will let us know whether we need to plan such an additional event in person. Let's take a look at what is the outcome. What did people say? Today's participants. We are seeing that a greater part of today's participants would like to meet us in person. 54% say yes. 27% more says yes very much. 27% of our participants are remote. 27%. We understand that those living at great distances from where we are, yes, we would need to take a look at a hybrid format. I see a question in the chat whether there will be a recording of the meeting available by email or whatever. All the materials are being published on the website of the competition. Once again, please feel free to use either QR code or type the website address directly, Sirius SiriusMasterPlan.com. You will get access to webinars, to all the information, etc. If you have no more questions, we are grateful to the experts, the leaders of Sirius Federal Territory, for them finding time to connect with us today and make necessary presentations and giving comments. We are grateful to all the participants of the webinar. Thank you to each and every one engaged in this process of developing one of the very best solutions for the unique territory for our country, post-Olympic site, developing best information, raising the very best staff for our country, using the opportunities of this unique territory of opportunities. Let us make everything possible in our hands so that its new districts, high-tech areas will be very much meeting the very best and exceeding the expectations in the topics we've been discussing throughout. And let me thank everyone once again, and we'll be able